Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of the YouTube channel. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make in their ACL recovery that can cost them weeks or months in the recovery if they don't implement this properly from the start. And that is exercise intensity. Now, before we go any further, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be posting weekly videos like this. So if you go into ACL recovery, you'll get to see them as soon as possible, as soon as they're released. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. So exercise intensity, why does that even matter, and how can you measure it, and how can you make sure that you're actually training at the right level of effort? So that's essentially what it is, how much effort you're putting in to a particular exercise in order to get the benefit from that exercise. Now, if you're recently post-op 0 to 12 weeks, then exercise intensity can be a little bit harder to implement because you're having to navigate more pain, and that post-surgery time period is still quite raw. So that is slightly different to what I'm about to tell you. This is probably more relevant for the 12 plus weeks. Now, there'll be certain exercises that you have no pain within the early stages that you can apply this to, that's fine. But if pain is a limiting factor for you, then these rules aren't as kind of black and white. We need to prioritize pain and not making the situation or the knee worse, so to speak. So there's essentially 3 ways we can measure intensity. I'm going to tell you my favorite. You may have come across some of them before. So the first one is a percentage of your 1 rep max. Now, you may have heard of a 1 rep max before. That's essentially the maximum amount of weight you can lift once, which you wouldn't be able to lift twice. Now, you can essentially do that on any exercise in the gym. So something like a squat or a deadlift, leg press, leg extension, hamstring curl. Doing it with free weights is a little bit harder. You generally need 1 or 2 spotters. So it's a bit unrealistic, especially if you're not that experienced in the gym, to go and do something like that, because you might fold yourself in half, and we wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want a second ACL injury. But essentially with a leg press, it can be a little bit easier because you've got the safety bars, you know, when you're about to fail. Leg extension, hamstring curl, it's fine to fail on because of the way the machine is set up. You're not gonna hurt yourself. You're just not gonna complete the rep. So when you have your 1 rep max at 100% value, we know that in order to get an adaptation, either muscle growth or an improvement in strength, we can dose the weight at a certain percentage of that to get the benefit. So we know that to build more muscle, we're looking at roughly around 70 to 85% of that 100% value, and you're going to be doing that for probably anywhere between 8 to 12 reps. If you want to improve maximum strength, that's generally 5 reps or less, then that is going to be higher than the 80% value. Obviously, the closer it is to the 1, the less reps you're going to do. Now, you're not going to go heavy straight away post-surgery. It's going to be more of a muscle building phase, so it's going to be higher reps with a slightly less weight, a slightly lower weight, so that might be starting at 70% of 1 rep max. Again, unless you've got that data, you're not going to necessarily be able to apply that properly. So there are other ways to do it. RPE, so scoring effort out of 10. So you might do 7 out of 10 effort, 8 out of 10 effort. Probably worth just going onto Google and typing in an RPE scale and looking at the levels there. So 10 out of 10 would be absolute 100% effort. You can't breathe, etc. as you're exercising. Maximum strain. So again, generally use them more for cardiovascular kind of exercises, aerobic. And then my favorite one, which is quite easy for anybody to implement, is reps in reserve. So that can help dictate what weight you're going to use quite easily. So for example, if I said do 10 reps and I want 3 reps in reserve, that means essentially you could do 13 reps. So you get to 10 reps and you think you could do 3 more, so there's 3 reps left in the tank. That will be a certain weight. Now, if I said do 10 reps with 0 reps in reserve, that means 10 reps to failure. Now, the weight that you're going to use to get 10 reps to failure is obviously going to be different. So if you do 10 reps with 3 in reserve, it's going to be a heavier weight. So you can use that to sort of guesstimate how far off the right level of effort that your training is. So if you do 10 reps and you think you could do another 10, you're clearly not working at a high enough intensity. That's going to be much less weight than if you did 10 reps with 3 or less in reserve. If there's any questions on that, drop it in the comments below, or feel free to send me a message and I can talk you through it. But hopefully that makes sense. Now, they're kind of the three strategies we can use. Like I say, reps and reserve, probably the best and easiest one that you can do without having any other information. The mistakes that people make, these are the big ones that I see when the training, are when you're training with a level of effort, your body will change. So if you see somebody working hard at the gym and you know they're putting maximum effort in, you're going to see that represented in how they're looking. And the main thing is the face test. There's no way you can lift heavy and train hard if your face is staying the same. So if you're just merrily doing a leg extension and you're smoking a cigar, then you're nowhere near the right level of effort. You should see a change in facial expression. It should be like grit your teeth, kind of grinding. If you've not been to that level, then that may be why you've not made that much progress to date. So that's the main one, the face test. Really simple thing you can sort of reflect on, maybe get someone to film you and assess, like, are you looking like you're straining and putting effort in? The next one is bar or pad speed. So again, I'll use leg extension as an example. If you're getting towards your maximum effort, then that bar or pad will start to slow down towards the final reps. So let's say you're doing 10 reps on a leg extension, you get into the 10th rep and you think you're working at maximum effort, but that 10th rep, the pad is going up at the same speed as the first rep. There's no way you're anywhere near close to working to your highest intensity. So on that 10th rep, if you're going to failure, it will be maybe 50% of the speed. You're trying to get it up, and then you finally do it, whereas the first one should be straight up. Quite simple. That you can apply to any exercise. So really reflect on it. Is the rep starting to slow down as you're getting towards that maximum effort? We're trying to create mechanical tension in the muscle. You should start to feel a muscle burning more and getting close to the point where you're thinking, crap, this is a lot. I'm getting close to my end point, my failure point. That will represent a good level of intensity. And one of the other mistakes that I see people make is when we're programming, let's say I say 3 lots of 10, I keep using 3 lots of 10 as an example just because it's a simple number. If you actually do 3 lots of 10, you've probably not trained at the right level of effort. Now, that is a guideline in terms of the third set is obviously going to be more fatiguing than the first set. So in reality, if you're training at a good level of intensity, then that rep, that set and those 3 sets that you're doing might look like a 10, a 9, and then maybe an 8, or it might be a 10, a 10, and a 9. So if you're failing on that third set and you're not hitting that 10 mark, we know that you're at the right level of effort. Some of the mistakes I see people make is that hung up on just trying to do the 10 reps. So they'll do 3 lots of 10, 3 lots of 10, and then adjust the weight to compensate for doing the 3 lots of 10, but they're missing out on that stimulus that is going to get a strength adaptation. So if you're that person, stop doing that. Stick with the same weight. Get the 10 on the first one. If it's 9 on the second, that's fine. If it's 8 or 7 on the third, that's fine. You can then just keep at that weight, because there's no way in the next session you're suddenly just going to go do 3, 10, 10. It might be 10, 10, 8, and then it might be 10, 10, 9, and then it might be 10, 10, 10, but on that 10 set you're still going to absolute failure. That's fine. And then you know that you might be able to start to increase the weight. So you increase the weight and it's 10, 9, 8 again. That's what it's going to look like in the real world. We don't have to be so fixated on the number of reps that we've been programmed. That's arguably the least important thing, and it's more about the stimulus and the overall level of effort that I want you to work on. So these are the principles I applied in my own ACL recovery. Regained strength really quick. I think it was maybe around the 16, 17 week mark. I'd regained my pre-op strength in my quads, my leg press and my leg extension, or as I was there or thereabouts. A lot of people I find can take a lot longer than that if they're sort of hanging around at those high reps and not really progressing the weights as much. But again, we need to look at the bigger picture, understand your individual circumstances. If somebody's more experienced at training than somebody else, we know genetics play a role in how quickly you adapt to things as well. Everybody is different. So it's about finding what is working for you, but understanding that these general rules will apply to everybody. Everybody has to train at a decent level of effort in order to get an adaptation and not just go through the motions, just sticking on the same weights for weeks on end. It's got to be intentional and purposeful, and that is what will get you much quicker, faster results. So hopefully that was useful. If there's any questions, obviously drop it in the comments. If you want help actually implementing proper training strategies into your ACL recovery, you feel like you are going through the motions, you've just got that list of exercises and everything's programmed at 3 lots of 10. I use 3 lots of 10 as an example because everybody can probably relate to that, but we can progress reps and sets down in order to get changes in maximum strength as well. That's something that needs doing. A lot of programs that you get from the hospital maybe don't consider that, especially when you get back to sport. You want to be progressing lots of different variables in order to get that athleticism back. So if you are stuck, you want help with coaching, DM me at RickWilliams_ACL coach. More than happy to chat and see if it can help. Hopefully that video was useful, and I'll see you on the next one.